Today, I've got an update on Nvidia's newest GPU. Ryzen 7000 announcement is days away. Intel's 13900K is a beast, and RX 7000 GPUs are game-changing. Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. First up for today, we have an update on the new GTX GPU from Nvidia. If you didn't see that video, it's the GTX 1630, and it looks set to go against AMD's newest RX 6400. Well, video cards now has most of the specs and launch date of the upcoming card. For starters, it's based on Nvidia's Turing architecture, and it comes with 512 CUDA cores, so quite a bit fewer cores when compared to the 1650 or 1660. It is set to have higher clocks at 1800 MHz, though the TDP remains the same at 75 watts. It also gets 4 GB of GDDR6 clocked at 12 gigabits per second on a 64-bit bus. Finally, the card is set to launch on May 31st, so Nvidia will likely make an announcement in the next week or so. Either way, the low-end market is about to get a new competitor. Now, if you've been trying to find PC components that aren't priced to the moon, look no further than today's sponsor, Micro Center, the place I trusted for my first ever PC build. And today they're bringing you a great deal. But first, if you haven't heard, Micro Center is basically heaven for PC hardware enthusiasts because it's an actual store you go to that has everything from rows of motherboards to memory, CPUs, even cases. I've literally driven hours just so I could go to a Micro Center. Recently, they started offering Asus barebones PCs, which come with everything you need already installed minus the memory and GPU, so you can still pick those without building the entire PC yourself. If you do want to build it, they're offering $50 off one of these AMD CPUs as well as another $20 off when you pair it with a select motherboard bundle. Just visit my link in the description to get your deal before they're gone. Next up for today, it looks like AMD is set to announce their Ryzen 7000 CPUs, as well as their AM5 platform in just a few days. And there's quite a bit of things that point to this. For starters, in Gigabyte's own press release for this year's Computex, they go over some of the products they plan to discuss. More specifically, they stated, quote, "The latest AMD socket AM5 motherboards, including the gaming series of X670 Aorus Extreme, Master, Pro AX, and X670 Aero D for designers will be first exposed in this exhibition as well." So they're definitely planning to unveil their next-gen motherboards. Not only that, but at least for a little while, ASRock had an upcoming YouTube video that showed off an X670E Tai Chi board. Unfortunately, they've since set it to private, but obviously that's because they didn't plan to reveal it just yet. The X670E part was in the description. And just before that, Video Cards ran a story on what that is exactly. Apparently, AMD plans to announce 3 chipsets, the B650, X670, and X670E. And according to this, the E is an extreme edition of the X670 that includes support for PCI Express 5.0 for both the GPU and storage, while the regular X670 doesn't require Gen 5 support for both storage and graphics cards, so it will likely use Gen 4 on one of them. All of this proves that AMD is gearing up to announce their next-gen CPUs, because they obviously wouldn't announce the new motherboards without the new CPUs. Not only that, but AMD's own Lisa Su stated that she's looking forward to Computex on the 23rd, and you can see it's an image of a Ryzen 7000 CPU. Basically, the announcement for next-gen CPUs are just days away, and to keep up with all the news coming out of Computex, make sure you're subscribed to Gamer Meld. Next up, Intel's 13th gen Raptor Lake is set for release later this year. And with that, we have one of the first big leaks on the upcoming CPUs. In a new tweet from known leaker Raichu, we can see that he shared a screenshot from CPU-Z. From this, we know the CPU has 8 big cores and 16 little cores for a total of 24. And Intel has already confirmed that Raptor Lake gets up to 24 cores. So this should be Intel's 13900K. The next thing this tells us is that there's 2 megabytes of L2 cache per big core and 4 megabytes per cluster of little cores, for a total of 32. On top of that, there's 36 megabytes of L3 cache for a whopping 68 megabytes of combined L2-L3 cache. For those who don't know, that's over double the L2 cache and 6 megabytes more L3 cache than Alder Lake, for a total of 24 megabytes more than Intel's current gen CPUs. Of course, there are 8 more little cores, but but this is definitely a big jump in cash. Basically, while AMD's next-gen CPUs are exciting, Intel certainly isn't sitting on their hands with their 13th gen parts. Let me know who you think will win between AMD and Intel in the comments below. And lastly for today, we have a huge leak on AMD's upcoming RX 7000 GPUs. The story originally comes from Red Gaming Tech, and in the video he discusses the specs for the next-gen cards. And as you can see, he points to a question when it comes to shaders. Of course, not long ago we found out that the core count is a bit different than what we heard a while back, but that's not really what this is. The most recent core count seems to be correct in a way. I know it's confusing, but it all comes down to VLIW2. Basically, according to Red Gaming Tech, VLIW2 is similar to multi-threading in CPU cores, but with GPU cores. Apparently, each FP32 core can issue 2 instructions. Now, it's obviously a lot more complex than that, but it gives you an idea of what we're talking about. And if AMD's RX 7000 has this tech, it could mean that AMD essentially has double the 12,288 cores we've already seen, meaning we could be looking at something like 24,576 cores in, say, the 7900 XT. With that said, one of his sources claimed that it's a bit different, in that it actually has 6,144 cores, and it uses VLIW2 to get to the 12,000 core count that we have now. Either way, this is really interesting because it would mean that AMD is able to get a ton more performance out of their GPUs with the same amount of cores, meaning we could potentially get something that's extremely powerful without being all that expensive. To give you an idea of what I mean performance-wise, Red Gaming Tech also goes over performance of next-gen cards, and according to him and a tweet from CapFrameX, so far the GPUs are getting around double the performance of their last-gen parts. According to this, that's apparently bad. Of course, that's because Nvidia's next-gen cards are rumored to be even more powerful, but essentially, next gen is looking like one of the biggest performance boosts in years. With that said, given how the current gen has been, pricing and availability are way more important than performance. So while that does it for today, are you more pumped for next-gen GPUs or CPUs? Let me know down in the comments below. And definitely make sure to check out that Micro Center deal in the description below. And as always, have a great day!